Hey, how's it going? You may have noticed my new attire. Isn't it snazzy? I found out I'm not into being a regular person. I want to stand out from the crowd and be remembered. Unlike me, however, video games have often been turning down their style to try and be as safe as possible to get as many people as possible to play their games. But often, games lose so much characterization when they don't have much style to them. So I'm going to be showing you why style is so important. That can take a C to D rank game and bump them all the way up to an A or an S. Just like this guy. So to understand how style makes a game better, we need to look at games that do the exact opposite. These are usually games that go for the most realistic graphics they can muster, whether that be from today or from the early 2000s. Sports games are definitely the biggest culprit of going for hyper-realism. Can you believe this thing was ever considered realistic? They made LeBron look like Mr. Potato Head. Picasso! While these games released, they are usually top of the line, with that even being arguable sometimes. After a few years of decaying in game stores, these games don't look too hot anymore. I mean, look at my personal favorite, NBA 2K11. This game is widely considered to be the best that 2K has to offer, but after coming back to it after so many years, it felt much more standard than I really remember. That may be the rose-tinted glasses talking. As a kid, I remember this game having a lot more fun visuals and flair than it really does. There isn't too much that makes this game stand out besides these weirdos standing behind my menus. Everything else about the game is pretty meh. This game really only stands out in terms of its gameplay, but just having good gameplay can't save the whole experience. Compare that to a sports game that, while still being a basketball game, actually has personality everywhere, that being NBA Street. And the game is awesome, having so many great stylistic choices, from the font, which is just really pretty cursive graffiti, the loading screens always bringing a different NBA legend to look at, and the soundtrack, full of very appropriate songs for a game about streetball, which I can't play here, but trust me, if you ever thought of what songs would embody streetball to the tiniest millimeter, they would all be located on the NBA Street soundtrack. Not to mention the announcer during the games constantly giving your opponents, or you, hell for not being good enough.
Oh, he's making the defenders look foolish. Woo, he's hamming it up like it's Thanksgiving.
That's not even talking about the actual gameplay, where instead of playing a standard basketball game, you're playing by street rules, baby. Going for the coolest moves you can pull off to increase your game breaker meter, and then trying to score the most points on top of that. Once your breakthrough meter is full, you can do some of the craziest, most improbable moves through the gauge. All of this is to say, having style is incredibly important to being remembered and appreciated long after your game has died. I've seen countless videos on what happened to and if NBA Street is going to come back from the grave. Unlike regular sports games, the Street series were fully able to embrace its culture, while giving you a fun game to play on top of that. But sports games aren't the best comparison, I'll admit, as they are meant to recreate the sport one-to-one, no matter how unplayable they are in real life. I say we take a different approach about looking at how style adds to games to make them more memorable, with a very simple choice: cats or dogs. How about a third option of geckos? You know, for the widely loved and acclaimed game Gek. Stray versus Okami. You may be thinking this is a weird comparison, but they both follow animals, which is good enough for me. I think the first comparison many would point out would be the art direction, with both of these games being gorgeous in their own different ways. Art isn't all style is though. It's tying everything from music, presentation, gameplay, and basically everything that makes a game, and making them bang, but bang well. So let's start the banging with Stray. This game is hyper realistic. Like, this damn cat looks like you're personally standing behind it at every point in the game. But no, they're made of polygons, just like the rest of us. This game is stunning at every locale. Going through the starting area of this game makes that very evident. Not only are there multiple realistic cats, but also some of the best looking environment details I've ever seen. Like, these damn water puddles are mind-boggling good. And the pipes, don't even get me started about the pipes. Every place you enter looks cinematic, but that's also where the problems lie for this game. The issues with Stray is most of its identity stops at its visuals. But it's a cat, it's cute! Okay, so are dung beetles, but you don't see them getting any games? Fuck! The game does not build off of anything about being a cat, or being in a cyberpunk world, or anything really. I was actually kind of disappointed when I first played this game. I heard so much about it to actually playing it and it being cat life in Cyberpunk World 3000. I had nothing else that was really drawing me to keep playing this game except for the photorealistic cat, which is very cute. But that's because the actual gameplay of Stray is mostly just walking around from place to place and interacting with everything within your vicinity. You don't actually get to do a lot of things on your own. There are some breaks from that to play at pretty unengaging stealth sections and some of Baby's first puzzles. Both of these meant to break up the action of the game. The mechanics that are brought in don't feel entirely connected to Stray at all. They feel like padding added to the game so that you can have a few more hours of playtime. As I'm trying to look at Mr. Whiskers in the city here, not fight some mystery blobs. I know it sounds like I hate the game, but that's the exact opposite. I think it's nice that we get games that wouldn't typically be thought of through AAA development. A game following a cute cat moving exactly like a cat and seeing the world through the cat's eyes is an amazing idea. And I think if the game was mostly about doing that with more abilities than meow and press Y to have a regular cat moment, I would have fewer complaints. Instead, the game feels like it wants to appeal to a much larger crowd by adding these half-baked elements out of what everyone wants to do, which is play as the cute fucking cat in this beautiful fucking world. On the other hand, Okami seems to be in a similar boat to Stray, a cute animal in a beautiful world, but it has something much more engaging than amazing graphics, and that's having a little panner guy in your fur that acts as your voice of reason? What? No. The answer is engaging gameplay and connecting the look of a game with the mechanics. And didn't you get mugged earlier? Oh yeah. As I'm sure most of you know, if you ever heard of or seen Okami, the biggest highlight of this game is also its graphics. This game was released all the way back in 2006, and it still holds up incredibly well. Shockingly well for a game made 20 years ago. The painter aesthetic makes every single action in this game look so sweet. Just running in this game gives you a beautiful flower trail behind you, and any cutscene that appears blasts your eyes with some of the best colors of this side of the ocean. Oh, it's just too much. My eyes can't take it. No, seriously, I'm blind now. It really hurts. Instead of leaving the game at just the visuals and playing as a cute little pupper, they instead give you something to keep you playing. That being your celestial brush. This thing basically allows you to do anything through your paint techniques, and I mean anything. You can literally bring the sun or moon out of the sky, produce massive water trails, or, make bombs. Having both the art of the game as well as the gameplay mechanics tie into each other is what actual style is. This game understands to truly have style, you must present it through every facet of your game. One of my favorite parts about Okami are the menus, and I know I've been harping on menus a lot. The menus are meant to keep you in the spirit of the game, not just get you from point A to point B. And the fan menu perfectly illustrates this. Each tab still makes it very easy to find what you're looking for, but it doesn't sacrifice Okami's overall style to make it easier for the player to find something. Then going into the menu of Stray is depressing in its finest form. While these menus don't look bad, they certainly don't add to the game or help the immersion of making this world feel real. They immediately take you out of the game since it's just basic black and white text. And is that Comic Sans? So now that everyone's caught up with what style truly is and how it's best implemented into games, let's look at games that showcase style through every facet of their design. As to stand out from the crowd, you gotta do something crazy, like me, an unregistered asthma breather. Don't do this at home, kids. The biggest series that showcases this is most definitely Zelda. Every game is brimming with life from the usual suspects like Wind Waker, which we will be talking about. A game that constantly has been talked about for its impressive art direction. Wind Waker does this with cartoony art and over-exaggerated characters. This game's full embrace into a world that looks like it popped out of a storybook is what makes it unforgettable. While you wouldn't usually remember smaller characters in games, like in a storybook, every character is super distinct from everyone else, in terms of color and body proportions, making many minor and even unneeded characters flash into my brain just because of one super memorable interaction I had. Just like my jokes, this game is very exaggerated in everything it does. Not just the character designs, as well as combat, where lots of moves are given a wind-up or recognizable sound cue. While most games do have this, Wind Waker goes far beyond those games to get that point across to the player, with everything that's being stuck in my brain being stylistic choices made. A game that also embodies is a smaller game called Penny's Big Breakaway. This game is a fast-paced platformer like a cross between 3D Mario and Sonic, with it going for a Saturday morning cartoon style. Penny, like Wind Waker, makes your movements super exaggerated, and very clear indicators on what you will be doing or should be doing about an enemy. It helps that everything is tied to your special yo-yo. That is really the heart of this game, allowing you to build up speed through riding on it, or launching yourself through hanging in the air. A game based around a sending yo-yo feels right at home with these super vibrant colors and mismatch of a world and concepts. The world map is literally just mashed together, both like an older video game would be, as well as something out of a Cartoon Network show where all of these worlds just kind of blend into each other. But I hear you crying out that all of these games are super cartoony, and none of them have had any realism to them yet. Which you are correct. Here's a cookie. As a guy who knows nothing, my opinion is that games that go for a more realistic art style are often the first games that really start to show their age. A lot of the reason these games look so good upon release is because there's so much money pumped into them to make them AAA experiences. Whether or not realistic graphics is a part of the AAA experience, that's a question to be asked. But what's not to be asked is how high these budgets are. Holy fish paste! That's like $10 more than I have. I never learned how to count. So let's talk about the most realistic game I can think of, which is GTA. No, not that GTA, silly. I'm talking about Vice City. While this game isn't looking the best nowadays, especially not after the remake treatment it was given.
Ordinary crabby. Oh my goodness!
I wouldn't be talking about this game for no reason, however. This game represents what I think are badly aged realistic graphics that are still stylized. Its setting in the 1980s gives it that signature neon aesthetic throughout the entire playthrough. Like the weapon wheel. Unlike the newer GTAs where it's just a fucking wheel, you get this really cool display showing your current weapon and it constantly shifting which weapon you have out. The cursive text transitions between major parts of the city and locales and the very 80s radio all make the feeling of this world feel totally blended together well. I mean, if there wasn't Billie Jean playing on the radio and neon marker highlighted roads in the city, and instead some ugly brown buildings with Rockstar's own Bolly Jib song instead of MJ, this game wouldn't be able to capture the same appeal. Just small things like this make the world feel so much more alive. Another big part of that being the famous loading screens. These are one of the most iconic parts of the game for a reason. The loading screens may secretly be one of the single greatest ideas Rockstar has ever had, instantly boosting the style of all of their games. Just a simple art graphic shows you everything you need to know about GTA, and then the actual game turns that into a reality. And I would say that's a lot of what style is, not just looking at the cool art a game may have, or the really impressive smaller details they've added. Style is everything your game brings to the table, and it working well together, which for GTA is capturing the 80s aesthetic into a playable criminal simulator. While for another game like Okami, the goal is to show off its amazing graphics, but also to educate you about Japanese myths, drawing as a whole, even if you don't know it. So style is playing fully into everything that makes up your game. It isn't making one really cool aspect of it and then leaving the rest of the game like chopped liver on the floor. If you want to make a dung beetle simulator, then do that. But if your menus and UI aren't dung related, so help me, I'm gonna make a strong worded YouTube video on you. And you're gonna be sorry. Bye.